Okay. Today we want to talk about, we've talked about money, making money. Money is okay. We've talked about finding your purpose. Today I want to talk about something that's real to me, and that is appreciating yourself. Appreciating yourself. If I had a mirror to give to each of you, I'd say put it in front of yourself and look in it and just say, I like you, you're okay. You know, I mean, that's really what it's about. It's really about you liking you and being able to look at you, not from what others are saying, but look at you from what you're saying. And that's a challenge too, because some people look at themselves and don't see anything good. So we want to deal with that. For a long time, I was a people pleaser. You know, I got my sense of self-worth from what people said. So if they said good, fine. You know, if they didn't say good, man, I would either go in a shell or I would overdo to try to please. I remember as a kid, I was a newspaper boy, and I built my route. My route was bigger than most of the guys my age at that time. I made a lot of money doing papers. And one of the things that I found out about myself as I look back over my life, Mother's Day, the paper company that I worked for said, you know, the guy who gets the most customers will get Orchids, and he will, and I thought about that. I said, okay. So I worked hard. I got my route built up. I was making about $80 as a kid. I mean, back in the day, that was a lot of money. But I was able to win enough orchids to give to all of my aunts. I come from a big family. And I wanted people to like me. So I got these orchids, and I gave each one of my aunts an orchid, and I wanted to, you know, be their favorite kid. In fact, I felt that I was, until one of my aunts died, and now all the cousins showed up saying the same thing, that they were that particular aunt's favorite. And I was so crushed because I thought I was the guy, and found out that all of us were. Well, that signaled to me, there was some stuff inside of me that had to be done, had to be worked with, and there's some do's and don'ts about appreciating yourself. I want to tell another story that's really important. You know, it hits home. I was always able, you know, for some reason I was always able. I was able to always get a job, had access to opportunities, doors just open. And I remember one season in my life, I got one of the biggest promotions ever. I mean, it was huge, and I was the guy who was running the stuff. And think about it, I was the guy who was running the stuff. Had this, that, all of the stuff. And I was invited to a meeting where there were other guys that I thought were important. And in fact, my head said that I wasn't good enough. They were better than me, more important than me. And so what I did, when I went out and bought me some $500 worth of, not worth of shoes, but a pair of shoes that cost $500, very expensive suit, and to go to this meeting. I think about it now, how painful it is even thinking back, and the things that we do to make ourselves over when we're already made, and we can call what we're made of enough. So that's real to me, and so there's some things that I want to close with. How do you appreciate yourself? Well, first of all, you've got to really deal with who you are, not based on what other people say, not what other people think. Because if that's what your appreciation is built upon, you'll never be able to satisfy people's expectations. Because if you don't know who you are, they'll use you for their purposes, and when they're done with you, you're done. Not very long ago, I mean, so this is something that runs across the span of our lives. Not long ago, you know, somebody was saying, he's not this, he's not that. At a point where I was trying to make my climb into another kind of thing. And I just had to let it go and not think about it, you know, because if I had stopped to think about it, I would not have arrived at some of the places, gone through some of the doors that the Lord, or that were open for me, doors of opportunity. So, lastly this, you can be appreciated, but don't look for others to do it. I would encourage you to do what you need to do to appreciate you, and that is to think about your pluses. Don't focus on your minuses. I've gotten to the point where I don't really deal with people in terms of good and bad, because that's a whole nother subject that I don't really think is important. Not important so much, but essential to the subject that we're talking about. Because there are bad experiences, there are bad circumstances, et cetera, and we cannot use those to define who we really are. So separate out the good from the bad. Look at who you are. What's good about you? What do you do good? What turns you on? What has passion? What excites you? What makes you feel like, I feel like getting up today and getting it done, and not just something done, but it done. That thing that triggers energy in you, life and value. With that, I believe that's a starting point. Try it, just try it tomorrow when you get up. Do it today before you go to bed. Try to identify those things in you that you know have value. You can do this from a prison cell. You can do this from a church pew. I don't care where you are, because they're all of us in all kind of places going through the same thing. Look, thanks for coming today, hearing this. This is just, some of what is, and I think it's important to talk about it and pass it on. We got to make it, and we will, and we can.